Hello, welcome to Extreme Gaming Podcast, episode number 244. I can't believe we've actually got that many. There's tons, right? We are definitely going to be talking a bunch of stuff today, and I want to introduce my co-host, and his name is...
Hello, Trev, Train Spotting Trev, the Trekway Trev, and Matt is sacked.
Yes, Matt is got to do his thing today or whatever, and so he won't be on, but he'll be on the future shows, no problem.
Wires get crossed, I think, didn't they? So...
it's okay. Real life stuff pops up, and that's what you got to deal with sometimes. No big deal. But to get the paperwork out of the way, I love doing that since you started doing it. I just talked.
I don't love your pregnant pause. I still think that's a shit saying. But anyway,
this
paperwork.
This is a US UK kind of word thing. I said I'm going to do a pregnant pause, and the first time I mentioned that to Trev here, he goes like, "What the hell is a pregnant pause? You're not pregnant." And I'm like going, no. It means, and he goes, oh, yeah.
Well,
okay.
I don't know. Like, you do eat a lot of cheese wheels. No, in all seriousness, a pregnant pause will be waiting for 9 months. Just a bit of an exaggeration. I do like you're saying. It's just cheesy.
I know. Anyway. I thought it was funny, though. Because occasionally you'll bring up something that I'd never heard of that's a UK euphemism or something, or I'll do the same thing.
Or a Scottish use. I've got lots of them that you wouldn't understand.
Right, exactly.
I'll keep them, yeah.
I think what's even funnier is that most of the time, when you and I are doing stuff or whatever, we're all playing games, I'm used to hearing your euphemisms. I'll even say some of them right back to you. But if I'm talking to some of my other friends over here, and all of a sudden something like that slips out, they look at me going like, Where'd you get that one from?
Great. Yeah, that look in your face, like the look in your face, like you've just taken a dump in someone's bowl of cornflakes or something. You know, that kind of, what the hell are you saying, man? You know, did you ever use the word "we" WEE before you met me? It is used by some Americans, not many, but it is used a little bit in the States.
I mean, the only time I ever said "we" is like when you're enjoying something, you go "we."
No, wee bit. WEE.
Oh, wee bit.
That's how you spell that word. WEE.
Yeah. I think I've said it more now, knowing you guys for so many years. But prior to that, I probably didn't say it that often. A lot of times I'll say, instead of wee bit, I'll say let's say turn that up a skosh. And a skosh is a slang expression.
Is it Canadian?
Do it just a bit. I have no idea, to be honest. I really don't. I just know that it means a tiny amount. Bring it up a skosh. Like
Right.
Anyway,
there you go. Every day's a skill day.
Started this whole thing.
This is the most impressive tangent at the start of a podcast yet, I think.
Anyway, please join our Discord. It's at discord.gg/Extreme Gaming Podcast. Of course, it's all one word. That's discord.gg/Extreme Gaming Podcast. If you join us there, you'll see me, you'll see Trev, you'll see Matt, you'll see other people. We're always playing games, talking. We have different rooms that cover computer tech, PC hardware, gaming, Star Trek, overall entertainment, etc. And we have a lot of fun with that. And you can also put in any kind of questions you want, if there's any questions, and we will put them on the next podcast. Also, we do a gaming stream on Twitch. We try to do that every Wednesday as much as we can. It's usually around 7 p.m. BST, and we will play whatever games we happen to be thinking about at that time. That's co-op. Of course, you can catch other podcasts that we do aside from this one. Trev does the Trekway, and you can just Google that and you'll see it. And also, I do Gray's Green Room once a month or so, and so you can check those out on YouTube and other podcast services. So we're going to get right into what's going on. We all were a little bit lucky to have our Game Pass in order. And because we had the Ultimate Game Pass or whatever, we were able to play Call of Duty Black Ops 6 beta. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool. So typical for Black Ops 6 and these kind of COD things and stuff, you have to download stuff. And then you get on and then you have to download something else. And then you get on and then there's an update and you have to download that. And then you try to get on and you can't. And then it boots you out. And then, so after we went through about 30 minutes of that garbage, which is to be expected with the COD. We finally are solid, and we decided to join. And I found it fun. Generally speaking, I'm not a big fan of COD because I don't really prefer PvP very much. But if I'm playing with friends, which we were because it was Trev and Matt, and so all three of us were playing, it was a lot more fun playing together with friends. So I found it pretty enjoyable. I would never play it, just me. I would never play it myself against a bunch of other people. If I don't play with friends, I'm not going to play it at all. I'll let Trev give an opinion in a second, but I thought that, again, I guess true to COD, the graphics were great. I mean, it was really good looking, really good sounding. It operated really well and so forth. You got to like that kind of style of game where basically you die 1,000 times and you come right back and each time and then just continue, kind of like capturing the flag or defending your area, or whatever. There was only 3 maps. The only thing I couldn't figure out is we were constantly playing in 2, and we got into a 3rd map that was a desert-looking map, and it never went back to that map again. Not really sure why, because it was supposed to be, whatever, random, but we never did get into that. So we had one that was like in a train yard with a bunch of train cars and stuff, and so we were dodging in and out of those, and maybe a couple little buildings. And then there was one that was totally opposite, where we were all of a sudden we're in this palatial estate on like 2 stories or whatever, and an infinity swimming pool and all this fancy stuff. And don't ask me why, but we're all fighting in there. And it was 6-on-6, so it was 3 of us plus 3 people we don't even know. And we weren't doing the in-game chat; we were just chatting to each other on the Discord. And then we just started, blasting away and trying to upgrade and level up. And of course I did my usual thing, being a bullet sponge, but I was actually impressed that I actually got more kills than I thought I was going to get. So I'm like, hey, yeah. So but Trev and Matt were doing better than me, especially Matt. So but what do you think, Trev?
Well, actually, first of all, before I completely forget this point, the pod may be a little bit shorter than usual because we're doing it pre-recorded rather than from our Twitch live stream, just commitments that we've got in the way. So it'll be a little bit shorter, and it might sound slightly better as well. We're kind of getting used to this Riverside stuff, and we'll hopefully be in the next few weeks certainly going live with the Riverside stuff as well. So slowly but surely we're ramping up. Well, it's getting bigger and better. I had to say that great before I forgot. So COD-wise, I get really angry and sweary and cursy and when I'm playing COD. I do. But I just asked Matt last night. I jumped on for a couple hours. He was playing Star Wars and I played some more COD. And I swear a lot when I play it. It pisses me off. I don't know why. There's only 2 things that annoy me in life, and that's my football team and Call of Duty online. I don't know what it is. You've got some probably 12-year-old shooting you in the back again.
Yeah. Kind
of pisses me off. This is why people invest in really good headsets and stuff so they can hear footsteps all around. And then I hear that Matt was playing with a controller on PC.
Oh, really?
I
didn't pick up on that.
I don't understand the logic of that one. I get if you're on console, it's a game that's... I mean, Matt isn't here to defend himself, so by all means, I'm throwing him under the bus. I don't get that one, Greg. Do you understand why I mean, maybe he's comfortable doing that, but then why would you not play in console?
I mean, there's some people that will play controller on everything, regardless. So I guess I can understand it. But yeah, for me, it's like those kind of games, you almost have, in our opinion anyway, you almost have to play with keyboard and mouse. You're much quicker. You're much faster, generally speaking.
Even with the trackball,
even with my trackball, I'm all good. So yeah, So I was a little surprised I didn't know that until you mentioned it to me. I understand about your frustration. Well, not really frustration, but when you're doing a lot of the cursing or whatever. I think it's just because it's the way the game is paced. Because you're constantly getting blasted, and half the time, we're playing up against people that are really good. I mean, when the matches were over, I think we won only 1 match out of, I don't know, a dozen that we played or something like that. And some of them we lost big, like 200 to 80. or something. And some we held in there, like it would be more like 200 to 180 or whatever. So we held our own occasionally, not very often. And these people that play this game, like, wow, these guys are just so good. They see a tiny little a blip in the distance, and they know it's ahead, and they just pop you, and you sit around going like, how did I get shot? Where did I die from? I don't get it.
These are the pros that you have to play COD a lot to be good at it. Now, some people will not play as much and still be naturally talented. Of course, there's natural talent in these games, but practice is a thing. I'm not willing to put in that number of hours to be good at that game. If I play a decent amount, I can be okay at it. Like, I got top spot in one of our groups once, and I think it was one of the games we lost, for what it's worth, And then, but then I don't need to be first as long as I'm not last. It's always been my motto in life. I don't need to be first. It's not this race for me. I just want to I don't want to be humiliated, I guess. I just want to be in the middle and just be average and normal, So it's funny, right? Gray talks about being a bullet sponge, right? But in this game, one of the things you can do, and Gray noticed this first before anyone else. He was taken hostage, and I was like, "What are you talking about, Gray? You're taking the piss." And I was like, I thought he was just waffling nonsense, And then it happened to me. Like, someone must have come up behind me, and instead of slashing me, there's another key, I think, that must be you can take them prisoner. And all they do is literally they grab you, the person behind you grabs you, and then walks about you. You can't get out. It's not like a press G or F multiple times and you can maybe break free. I think they should put that in. I don't think that's very fair, because then I don't want to be having to go through this. I'd kill myself. But this thing happens, and then you soak up so many bullets before you completely die anyway. You can't get out of it. So you were literally Operation Bullet Sponge more than once, Gray. I'll be honest with you. So well done. You actually achieved your calling in life. Actually happened.
I didn't have too many places to hide. That was the only bad thing.
I
wanted to, but I couldn't.
So breaking it down a little bit more, it is only a beta at the moment, and it's by the time you hear this will go out in a couple of days' time. I think it finishes its beta and then goes into early access for people that have bought it. They don't have Game Pass, so it'll finish the session, then it'll jump back into another session, so you still get a chance to play it. I think Game Pass can play that session as well, so if you've got Game Pass, jump in. But first of all, to start with, problems getting it up and running. There shouldn't be, but then they could argue that a beta is par for the course. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to have these issues, and you're supposed to work them out. And if they get worked out in this and they're not a problem when it launches, okay, that's fine, I'll put up with it. That's the price you pay. It would restart multiple times this game before we actually got in. Even though we updated and we got all the patches and downloads, I made sure I'd done that in advance.
Right.
I still reloaded many times. But then we all got in eventually, and I had fun. I won't lie. It's I'm able to... It is very well optimised, as COD games are. Yeah. Very fast, very nice, pretty to look at. I can run it at over 100 frames, 4K, really shiny, and I can't remember if I've ray tracing on. I should turn that off because that's just nonsense ray tracing for me.
I don't know. Was it even available?
Yeah, I don't recall because I didn't drill down the settings that much, but I probably would turn it off because it's too fast a paced game for me to stop and go, oh, shiny. So you don't want that. Exactly. You don't want them on. But frame gen's in. DLSS frame gen is on.
Right. I was doing 120 or 125 with it on or something.
And then we had standard DLSS 3.5. Frame gen is a game changer in the 4000 series, as we said before. It just means you get frames from nothing, kind of essentially, and it makes all the difference. I had no issues really with any frame dips or any performances. There was only 4 maps, something like that. There was only a couple of modes. I can't remember what the first mode was called, but the second one was called Mosh Pit or Core Mosh Pit, which is a hodgepodge of things. Yeah. Yeah, it's a hodgepodge of
I know
things.
there's a. Do you know what mosh pit's supposed to mean?
I don't know its technical definition, but it basically cycles through a bunch of game modes, and that's why sometimes it was just 6v6 team kill, team deathmatch, and then sometimes it was hardpoint where we had to keep a zone of the map for a little while. So there was a few different game modes. Kill confirmed wasn't there. That's where you get even more points for picking up their dog tags when you kill them.
Yeah.
So limited on what you could play. The good thing is it was double XP and the progress carries over to the game when it launches, which is great because that would have put me off a little bit. I'm up to level 15 at the moment. You can rank up your weapons as well. Yeah, but I've played it a bit more than you as well, Gray.
Yeah.
You rank up, some people know this, some people don't. You rank up your weapons and yourself separately and differently. And I like that, it just gives you more to do. And once you rank up, you prestige. And there's quite a few prestige levels, and the level can go way, way, way up. It gives the hardcore players, Gray, that play this for the whole year, more scope to keep playing it and keep playing it. Season Pass will come in, but it's not. I don't know if it was available just now. I don't think so.
No.
And of course, you pay for that, and I have no qualms. Nor do I have qualms about paying for any Microsoft Game Pass DLC. The games are included for free as part of your Game Pass. Like Starfield are doing it. You're paying for the DLCs there. Other games are doing it with DLCs. You have to pay for them. I have no qualms with that. Season Pass, you need to pay for that because you're not been made to buy it. But I was trying out several of the weapons, liked them for the most part. I like customizing the way I like it. I tend to rock LMGs because they do a ton of damage. They're not as quick. They're heavier, so you don't move about as quickly with them. So I need to be smart. Gray likes the sniper. The problem with that is
not in this game. I didn't.
Yeah, Gray was getting his arse handy to him because they weren't. See, COD has many different modes. Like it steals some other games as well. It used to just be like the 6v6 a lot of the time in smaller mid-sized maps. When the game comes out, they'll probably have other modes in there like Battlefield did, like Ground War, where you're in big massive maps, and it's like, I don't know what the record was. Is it 32 versus 32 or 64 versus 64 players, something like that? Yeah. Those games you would be better using your sniper, because he was trying to use a sniper and there were small maps.
Yeah, too small, too fast. It just
too quick. Yeah. To be a sniper in that map, you have to be shit hot. And the snipers in that are, so you don't bother with them. You pick the right weapon for the match. Most of the time it's a machine gun or an assault rifle or something for me. The odd map, if it's small enough, it's not too big, I try a shotgun because that's one shot kill, which is great. Well, actually, you'll be surprised. You can actually, if you do a clean shot, you can get them, not the other side of the map, but you can get them for example, the train, my favourite map is that jungle type map with the train in it, the defunct train. You could probably, if you were at one side of the carriage, Gray, and I'm at the other side, I could probably kill you from that distance or a little bit further if I get a clean shot on you, like headshot. But if it's any closer than that, you're dead full stop if I hit you because it's really powerful. Same with a sniper. Sniper chest up is one shot kill, usually. I think even if you've got... Do you get armour in that game? Don't think you do. You can get a flak jacket. Flak jackets are the can't remember what they call them.
I think when COD, it's just a skin, because I know my character had no helmet, so obviously if that was
a scam,
they'd be dead. But there was other player with more or less stuff on them. Not a scam, a skin. So they pick a skin of what they want to look like. And obviously you can buy these things when the game gets going. So you can look like however you want to look like. But as far as getting hit in the head, it's going to be the same for everybody. At least in this way it was. So, but yeah, I was doing the same thing. I didn't do LMG, but I was working with more of the rapid fire rifles, and I was doing a lot better with that. But yeah, I tried sniper once, and I'm going no, this ain't working, and I was getting killed left and right. No.
It was funny. Matt was doing okay, but see, I was getting more kills than him.
Well, at the beginning, he was getting more than both of us, and then you started catching up to him. Me, I stayed the same. I never did more than 1 to 4 kills.
That didn't last long. Most of the time, I get more kills than him, and I don't sit to blow my own trumpet. I'm average on a good day. It's because I'm using keyboard and mouse. Just saying, Matt. If you listen back to this when you can. But I liked it overall. For the most part, I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was included in the Game Pass. Yeah. Why not? And let's say progress carries over. When the game comes out, you can only play the multiplayer limited modes and maps when the early access starts again. So we could play this until, I think, the end of tomorrow, Gray, maybe, or tonight, tomorrow. And then 2 days off, and then back in the 6 for 4 days or something. And then they'll probably take away what they need to. Not to necessarily tweak the game. I'd imagine it's more to tweak the back end, like the network infrastructure and whatnot, because the game will be pretty much done. And when it comes out, they'll release the campaign, co-op mode and whatnot, and zombies. And it's Sledgehammer make this game this time around, and they always get help from Raven. Raven are the help studio for COD. They're not the main guys, but they help each year to make it. And then the zombie mode, because Sledgehammer done an awful job with zombies last time, is done by Treyarch, the zombie gods of COD. Like literally, some of my best gaming memories are Call of Duty Zombies, Gray. Genuinely, and when the game comes out and we fully review it, I will be reviewing more so the zombies part of it and trying to get people to play it. I remember Black Ops 1.
Since you mentioned zombies, I'm not usually a zombie fan of
you do
zombie
better.
games. But now that you're explaining it, and now that I'm thinking about it after playing this, I thought that might be kind of interesting. You've done it more than I have. Are the zombies slow, fast, medium? I mean, what do they do?
They speed up as you go through the levels. It is basically horde mode. It is horde mode, but it starts off easy and they get quicker and more aggressive. But then you pick up perks as you go along, right, to make you like Juggernog. It's got a little famous jingle and a little fridge that Treyarch brought out and everything. It was great. I missed out on that. That gives you more health, and then you'll get speed reload, and you'll get all these things that you can add on. And because Treyarch are the OGs, the kings, the goat of zombies, then they do the best stuff. You get weapons that you can upgrade, and you can upgrade some of them to. You get a laser weapon. Did they call it the laser? It's basically a ray gun. You can upgrade that as well. And it's basically how far you can go last. But zombies started off great in was it Modern Warfare 1? It was just
back then it was like everything was zombies. Zombie this, zombie that.
But it was one of the first ones to do it in this aspect. They stuck it on at the end of the game just as a little bonus thing. And you only had an upstairs and a downstairs. It was how long you could last, but it blew up in a good way. And then Black Ops 1, 2, and 3 came out, and Treyarch made a story out of it. They could release that as a game. That's how good it is. They made a story out of it, Gray. You had characters, right? You had characters that you were invested in. Hello, Sony and Concord. No one gives a shit about your characters in your game. That's why it's bombing. But you were invested in Richtofen and Dempsey and I can't remember the Japanese guy's name, and there was another guy as well. Dempsey was the American. You know, it was very stereotypical American, you know. They were all stereotypical. And they got together for the 25th anniversary, or was it the 10th or 15th anniversary of the game or something? And they were all doing their voices. Nolan, is it Nolan North, the guy that does the voices? They were all there. And they were doing their voices again, and it brought back nostalgic memories. But they made a story out of it, Gray. And it went from one part, Black Ops 1, 2, and 3, and it went all the way through. And by the end, it was about saving the whole universe. You know, they actually made it more than just zombies. But you have to go from area to area and unlock it, and you use points to unlock things, and you've got to get parts, and there's a whole thing. We'll cover it when it comes out. But zombies is always my favourite mode. And if there's zombie fans out there, join the Discord, and we'll get gaming when it comes out.
I'm definitely going to try it after you've talked about it. So
you will handle it better. But when it gets to higher levels, you'll struggle because the zombies do not mess about. They don't shoot you, thankfully, but they get to a stage where if you've not got like Juggernog on and a flak jacket and it's level 30, you die. So
from the way you explain it, though, I think I might end up liking that better. But we'll see. By the way, I looked up Mosh Pit as far as it pertains to Call of Duty. So it's a playlist that restricts matchmaking to solo players, no parties. So that's what it means, Mosh Pit. I don't.
But we were all in this. We were all in the same.
This is Call of Duty's definition of Mosh Pit: a playlist that restricts matchmaking to solo players, no parties.
Well, we were in a party. We were all in the same lobby, and we were all in the same chat via Discord. So that's nonsense.
Okay. Whatever.
But yeah, listen, it was good. I enjoyed myself. Even Gray enjoyed himself, and he usually doesn't enjoy that. So, I mean, we'll probably revisit it, and I'll try and get Gray involved in the zombies. Yeah.
Yeah. If I play with you guys, I'll just stand out front and get bit, and then you guys,
Well, what did you like and dislike most about the beta, Gray?
The game, well, this is a common complaint, not so much with the beta, and this is just me. When you play the game, and other people that are in the game are obviously better than you are, it gets a little one-sided. And then on top of that, you could have somebody that has been leveling up, so they could be leveled whatever, 15 or 17. You're not as good, let's say, so you're only doing like 5. And so now they have another advantage against you. They're a better player. They're a higher level. I would love to be able to see a game like that where you could actually have different lobbies that are people that are low level or whatever level it is. So in other words, like maybe a lobby of level 1 to 10 or something like that. And then when you pass 10, you're thrown into the next lobby, 10 to 20. And then when you pass 20, you get so forth and so on until you get to 50. And then that's just one lobby and never changes.
I think you can do that. Don't quote me on it. I'm sure COD has some kind of matchmaking, especially when it properly launches. I think. Don't quote me on that. I may be wrong, but I think that's a thing, and it should be. You're right.
Because I think I would if I were to play alone, which is not likely, then at least I would feel I have some kind of a competition that I could handle. Whatever. But like I said, I think those games are really... Not that I'm saying you can't play it solo. I'm sure there's plenty of people who play solo and they don't care who's on the team. But for me, I have a lot more fun playing with you guys and other friends and stuff than I ever try to get going alone. So, except for the sign-on problems at the beginning, but that's COD, and yes, it is a beta. But even when it became a real game, that was still a problem. So, we'll see. But
so what did you like about it then? That's what you disliked. What did you like?
I liked pretty much anything about it. You can't knock the fact that the optimization is good. The frame rates were good. It looked fantastic. I really love the way that the weapons handle, and I really love the sound effects of all the weapons.
It should be optimized, Gray, though. They use the same engine across all the major 3-4 studios that they have, and they just upgrade and tweak it each year, so it should be good. Each year.
I have a question for you. What if they ever wanted to do
42?
I know. I don't know if they'll ever do this, but could you see a COD game like we were playing done in the ultra realistic chest cam style? Do you think it would even work?
Body cam the game. Yeah, it would work. I believe Activision, ultimately owned obviously now by Microsoft, but Activision have the same engine for all their COD studios. What's it called again? I've forgotten the name of it. It's a good engine, as we can clearly see, but they don't use Unreal Engine 5, which I think that's what the body cam's done on. That's why it looks so good. Yeah. They could do it, of course they could, but it's supposed to be more of an arcadey type shooter. And that wouldn't work for a realistic game. Saying that, I say it's not supposed to be that kind of game, but it's became less arcadey over the years. I mean, it is still arcadey because what do I mean by that? You can jump in for a quick game and not have to do too much planning and thinking and just have fun. But COD has other modes in it now that is borrowed from other franchises. Battlefield, for one, where longer, drawn-out games are in it, for example. So it's possible.
I would think the ultra realistic would play better in the campaign version of the game.
But stick to what they know, Gray. Stick to what they know.
Right.
They make. COD is usually one of the biggest selling games, if not the biggest selling game every year.
Yeah.
Until, with the odd exception of I don't know. I didn't think Baldur's Gate 3 or something would beat that. Obviously, when GTA 6 comes out, that'll win.
Yeah, that'll probably, yeah.
Yeah, so, but basically, other games avoid releasing in October or November because they know it's literally suicide to do that. So
the other thing too is they generally put out a game every year, which shows you that it can be done. It doesn't mean you can't. But that's because there's a massive amount of people working on it. So
yeah, that's a very good point. Microsoft said they would consider delaying that schedule, right, slowing it down. And I think they should, because the games would be better quality. And you're right, the only reason they can do it every year is because they have 3 major studios working on it, with a 4th in Raven helping them. And each studio has a massive ton of people. Plus, they use the same engine, and the same source code and all that. So they just need to go in and tweak and change things. There's still a lot of work to be done. I used to, I briefly dated a girl who worked for Raven Software. And she told me about all that. She was an environmental artist, and I saw some of the work, and I was like, wow, like, I have got so much respect for guys like you, because you make the games look stunning. Like the backgrounds, she'll do the art and then it gets digitalized and whatnot. And it's absolutely stunning. These people do such a great job, and that, she told me, the amount of work that goes into these things, it's unbelievable. And that's why they're talking about maybe slowing down the schedule. But I think Microsoft will probably change their minds and stick to the status quo, Gray, because money talks, and they see how much they can get every year.
You don't want to take
change
any chances, right?
But saying that, can you imagine if they'd done something like Battlefield is every, 2 or 3 years? And the last Battlefield was a disaster. But if they do another good Battlefield, they spend a few years. This is EA. They'll spend a few years working on it, and they're usually brilliant games with bigger, longer campaigns, more detailed, thought-out multiplayer modes, because they've had the time to work on it. So who knows?
I think even though we're on a tangent, it's a good one, because I was looking at, I believe you had posted the story in the Discord. I think it was it Black Lace or Black something, and they were showing.
Are you talking about your lingerie again?
No. No, that's actually a different color, but no. But anyway, so this game is not out yet, but they had a clip of it on YouTube, and wow, I was looking at that and I was going like, holy moly! I said, the stuff looks so real. They were like, it was like fighting or almost kind of like taking COD into a museum, I guess.
Yeah, I saw that. Was that all the white marble and stuff? Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, holy moly! I mean, it looked really, really good. It looked like you could, even if you weren't VR, it looked like you could just reach out and touch your screen and feel everything that was in the frame.
If you want to see what we're talking about, join our Discord.
Say that, yes. But here's the thing I noticed about it that I didn't like, and maybe is something that happens when you use ultra realistic. So everything, let's put the player aside for a moment. Everything that was happening to the player, or what the player was experiencing, or what the player was walking on or going through or whatever, was just about as real as you picking up a pen and looking at things like right now, right? So it was unbelievably realistic. So from a technical standpoint, it was crazy good. Now, I noticed, though, that when the character became involved in doing whatever they were doing in the scene, it was so ultra realistic in the backgrounds and the foregrounds and everything other grounds. Okay, everything was so ultra realistic that now the character didn't look to fit. You know what I mean? Even I'm not saying the character had bad graphics. No, they didn't. But the character wasn't at the level of the surroundings. So when I was watching the character,
which is weird.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're watching the character, you're going like, you're trying to figure out what's off about this. It looks really great, but something's off. And then as I started to realize it, I was going like, oh man, it's the player. He doesn't make it in this. It just doesn't.
I wonder why they done that though. I wonder why. Maybe they just wanted to do that as a tech demo to see what it actually looked like.
The only thing I can think of is that it's a lot harder to make the human look that realistic. You notice that even in the games that we've seen some footage on, the body cam things that aren't really out yet, but we've seen the previews. You're not really seeing the characters as much. I mean, you are, but they're either at a distance, and they're not like really close, and you're not playing like third person. You're playing more first person, so you don't see yourself. And I think there's a reason for that, because the ultra realistic things that you do look much better if you're covered in first person. This game, or this clip of the game, was all third person. So I think, again, remember, it's way early on this game, and I'm assuming that they're going to have a control for either third or first. I would think first makes sense, because third was really throwing me off, because I'm looking at it. It's a kind of like just a weird, your vision kind of thing, almost. You know what I'm saying?
You're not talking about COD. You're talking about that other game, yeah.
You're talking about the other game now, yes.
Okay.
And you're looking at it, and you're just going, something is off. What is off about this? And you're just trying to think about it. And then you finally realize that, oh, it's the character that's just not up to the quality of their surroundings. So I'm curious when some of these so-called ultra-realistic games come out. I'm not against them. But when they do come out, they're going to have to keep that into consideration, because it is way more difficult to make an ultra-realistic person do the things that you can do with the backgrounds and other stuff. So
true.
We're going to see what that brings in the future.
I never thought of it like that. Great. I'm also really quickly curious. Why do we have our cameras on if it's an audio podcast and recording?
Because I might do something with the video.
See, I thought you might say that. See, this is why I didn't turn it off randomly. Because then it'd be like, clipped.
And it's better just to do this, because we're using Riverside, so it's nice to be able to practice with it.
Yes.
We might as well move on to the next thing, because we spent a good amount of time, which was fun on this. So in the game news, anyway, Xbox Game Pass subscribers are going to have to wait a little longer for some of the ultimate big releases. And what do we mean by that? Well, you've noticed on some of the gaming companies, Game Pass being one of them, I think even Ubisoft's doing it too, when they talk about their Game Pass, now they've tiered everything out. So basically now they have what they call a standard tier, and obviously it costs less than the ones that we play on, because we're playing on the ultimate, pass or whatever. But in order for people to afford to be on the tier and to have good, be able to play the games technically free because they pay, they have a standard tier that's a little more affordable. But now apparently what they're saying is the standard tier will not, and they said this in advance, so it's not like they were going in unknown, but the standard tier does not include the day one release. But now we're finding out that not only will it not be the day one release, but you may have to wait 12 months or longer before you can actually play the game. So for free on your pass. So now I'm sitting there thinking like, because if you're on the standard tier, you're saving a little money, but if you're watching all these other people play the game now for a year and then you can't play it for a year, I don't know. I suppose that's why they made the tiers, and then you have to pay the extra couple bucks. But I just thought that was something that was, I'm not saying it's a wrong. People know it going into it. But boy, that would be annoying to me to sit there and watch like a bunch of people playing the game, and I got to sit there and twiddle my thumbs or come up with the extra money because I ain't going to be able to play the game for free on my Game Pass. I have to wait. I think 12 months is a long time. I mean, why can't they make it 6 months or something? That's long enough.
The two things I've got to say in that are, I think it would be a tier that's designed for people that don't care about day one exclusives, that they just want a general catalogue to play, because think PlayStation Game Pass, they tend to not release games day one because Sony are pretty much the kings of console story-driven big narrative games. Like I love that. I usually get their big massive games that come out, and they make as much money as a movie sometimes, and how much sales that they get in. So why would they put them on day one? They wouldn't. So they'll do it with the odd game. I'm thinking usually a indie title or something like Stray. That cat game came out day one. Horizon Forbidden West came out just 1 year after it was released and came into the Game Pass. I mean, it's going back out of it again shortly, which surprised me considering it's their game. But yeah, you're right. Probably 6 months is a fairer timeline. And the second thing is, and I had to say this at the very end, so to not undo all of Gray's hard work, I mentioned this probably about 2 months ago, a month ago, about the different tiers. Gray just forgot.
No, I mean, I know about the tiers, but that's why I was saying that I understand going into it. Like, for instance, the core membership is $9.99. I'm talking USD dollars for a moment. The standard's $14.99. The PC is $12. So actually, the PC is the best deal, which is what we got.
Well, I've got Ultimate.
The Ultimate's $20 a month. But the Ultimate allows you to play on PC and console if you want to do it that way. I don't care because I don't really have a console. I rarely ever use it. So really, the PC is the better deal. It's only $2 more, and you get day one. So for people that really don't care about day one, like you said, I guess that makes sense. I mean, there's something for everyone. In other words, it's just that I'm saying 12 months, and they said 12 months or longer. They didn't even say like, oh, it'll only be 12 months. They're saying 12 months or longer, and I'm sitting there going like, wow, it's almost worth trying to find the couple extra bucks not to have to wait. Or I think, in fairness, it shouldn't be as long. 6 months seems like quite a while. Well, a year is like, I mean, in gaming, a year is like forever. I mean,
yeah, I've still got about 2 years left of my Game Pass Ultimate. I only done that because I was able to backdate it for 3 years, which you can't really do now. You don't get the same value out of it. You can't stack on to an existing membership or subscription.
I'm very unfortunate, like you are, that when I got mine, it was 14 months. And then within 30 days after I did this, they announced the tiers. And I'm going like, whew, got away with that one.
When I done it, you were able to do it up to 3 years. So I had 3 years for the price of, I think I paid something like, I paid a third of the price that I would normally pay if I bought it outright for 3 years. It was too good. It was just £100-something. It was amazing. I'm glad I done it that way. But when it runs out, I'll either get PC Game Pass on the months I want to use it, or my mobile phone plan has a perk in it where I can choose something. It tends to be a sport channel or music, Apple Music, or Game Pass Ultimate. And it's not PC Pass, it's Game Pass Ultimate. So we'll see. And the thing is, I got the latest Alexa Fire Stick. Sorry if I've set off your devices at home, people. Hi, Alexa.
Hey, Alexa, play some music over our podcast.
Alexa. No, I'm joking. Sorry,
don't
guys.
Do it. Don't do it.
I got the latest Fire Stick because it's got Game Pass built into it. All you need to do is take your Xbox controller with you, or another, it could be a PlayStation controller, and pair it up to it in a hotel or something with good Wi-Fi, and you could take it when you go. And these are really small sticks. So I'm kind of glad I done that, and I purposely got the new one because that was the one that's compatible. Do you know what happened just a few weeks ago? The model I had that I've now sold then became compatible with Xbox Game Pass. I was like, you mother truckers, man. You gits. I was not happy with that, man. So, yeah, it's
I can understand that. I usually try to get the bigger Fire Stick, though, because, never mind. So, if you think about it, when you think about the name, I mean, and you think about computers, and you're going like, why'd they call it Fire Stick? It's like you plug it in, and your whole PC goes up in smoke.
Like, I certainly hope not.
I know, I do too. Anyway, we'll go to the next story. So apparently now there's a new piece of software that sounds like a really good idea. It's called DLSS Updater, and apparently it's a free tool. You can load it on your computer, and it basically all it really does is go out there and say, look, there's a new DLSS version ready. Get it now, and you can automatically get it. It'll load into all the games, for you, etc. So I'm like, that's pretty cool, because sometimes you forget that when these things are updated, or maybe you forgot to do the driver thing or whatever. This thing will automatically just tell you like, hey, it's available. Get it, and put it in. As soon as they make any change, any kind of update at all, this little piece of software will do it for you. So I thought that was kind of cool. They apparently showed it at Gamescom. I don't know if I think it's an NVIDIA thing. I'm looking here. I don't think it was made by somebody just to work on stuff. I think NVIDIA itself, came out with it. But I thought it was a pretty good thing to have in case you forget, and because nowadays you really want to stay up with your DLSS, especially when you're messing with FrameGen. I mean, FrameGen's just too good to not use. It doesn't really take any performance hit as far as making everything slow down to nothing. Ray tracing is another story, but but the FrameGen is different. Eventually, I think they're going to get ray tracing down, especially with AI now. to the point where it won't be as taxing on your card as it is now. I mean, look at the Star Wars Outlaws, a good example. When I put on ray tracing and ray reconstruction, wow, my game went from 60 frames or 65 or 70 frames all the way down to 14.
I don't get ray tracing, Gray. Like, I mean, I know what it is, but I don't really give a shit about it. I don't understand why people, and I think I'm in the majority rather than minority about ray tracing. Honestly, I know how it works, the way it bounces light across the screen, and it does millions of calculations every second to figure out where this light's coming from, where it's going, using light sources available to it, so that light scenes should be properly light and dark scenes should be properly dark. Along with HDR, it does look good. But they can use, I think they call it cube maps, where you can get some kind of rudimentary reflections and it still looks good. The only time that would maybe be beneficial is a slow-paced game where you can sit back and smell the roses and look at it. That's why I said it was wasted in COD.
For a game like God of War or for Horizon Forbidden West and games similar to that, more bigger RPG kind of things, Assassin's Creed, I would definitely want to see something like that because it does look good. And how you can see that for anybody out there that wants to mess with it, you go on YouTube, and what I really like is there's some guys out there that really do pretty cool comparisons, and they'll show you what a frame looks like, with ray tracing on, ray tracing off, different levels of ray tracing, low, high, or insane level or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see the differences. But yeah, like you're saying, if you're playing a game that's got even some kind of a medium to fast pace, you're never going to notice it. You don't have time. You're flying around having a good time with the game, and you're not going like, oh, that looks real, and then you're dead. It's like you have no time to screw around. But in the wide open RPGs, I like, especially like with the Assassin's Creed, when you're climbing up a really tall building and to perch yourself out on a pole or whatever, because you're syncing your player, you just sit there and look around. It's like, wow, this is cool.
Great. Serious question: do you generally think it adds a lot to a game? Like, seriously, do you think it adds a lot?
Yeah, I think it does in certain games. Like I said, if you're not going to play a game like an RPG where you can sit and smell the roses, so you don't need it to that level.
What,
I mean,
what does it add? What does it add? Does it make it look prettier for you, or what?
Yeah, if you take a look at some of these people on YouTube where they do the comparisons side by side, you can see one version where you see the light and it looks pretty good, and then they pop on ray tracing and it's just like, oh, okay, so now we're talking. So like, let's say, I'll just give you a dumb example. Like, let's say you're in a castle and there's a window and the light's coming in through the window, and without the ray tracing, you see mostly just light. You don't really see any rays of light, just kind of like light. And it looks good. It's okay. Nothing wrong. As soon as you put on the ray tracing, especially when you go to the higher levels, all of a sudden it looks like what your own eye perceives. And now you start seeing actual rays of light, and you're watching how the light changes when it hits the ground and what things look like.
But you can copy a lot of that, Gray. You can copy a lot of that without using ray tracing. Yeah,
I mean, I know there's some tricks to what you can do. There's the
cube map
shadows thing. I forget what that was. I read about it, but you can't really get where you could really see ray tracing come in was when they start going ultra realistic, like in the video of that game. Yeah, now you see if you're going to go that realistic, you almost have to have ray tracing, or you're not going to be able to fool the public, so to speak.
The thing is, there's supposed to be dedicated parts in a graphics card that are responsible for ray tracing. Yet your rasterization, that's the normal graphical performance, that's what that's called, it suffers when you put it on, which tells me, I'm not an expert with I'm not a graphics card engineer, that the built-in chips or part of the card that's responsible for ray tracing, I can't remember what they're called again, are not good enough or not powerful enough, hence why it's hitting the card. So they need to be beefed up massively, and you're seeing that more, and I'll talk more about that in a little bit when I'm talking about my news as well.
Okay. Sounds good. So anyway, if you want to look up the DLSS Updater, just do a little Google. It will be available, simple piece of software, and will perform the duties of putting DLSS in there without you having to mess around too much, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
To go on to one thing that we kind of covered off and on in some of our podcasts, and that is the whole AI thing in gaming and how much it's been really upsetting people, etc. The goods, the bads. I've been reporting on it off and on. I have another little piece to that I thought would be interesting. I had spotted an article of a woman called Jennifer Hale, and if you know anything about voice acting, Jennifer Hale does a lot of different things in game. She's done voices in Avatar: The Last Airbender, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, Baldur's Gate, X-Men '97, and the list goes on and on and on. So she knows what voice acting is all about in gaming. And she's been very vocal about what's going on. I mean, really vocal. And I'll just give you a couple of quotes she was saying. She basically said flat out, AI is coming for all of us. Sounds like Skynet, right? It says, because the truth is AI is just a tool like a hammer. If I take my hammer, I could build you a house. I can also take that same hammer and I can smash your skin and destroy who you are. That was a good analogy because that's true. I mean, a hammer can be used for good and for evil at the same time, right? So
that is pretty grim.
They're getting very upset, and I really feel kind of bad when they start bringing in the family aspect. They've been talking about, dude, you're taking money away from the table for my family. I said, you gotta cut us some slack somewhere, It's such a dividing subject matter, and of course they're still on strike, and the strike has.
That's right, so they are. We've not heard anything about that, have we?
I've been hearing a little bit here and there, but because it's not as ever present as the one for the movies and for television, and because that one's more, more in your face, you don't hear about it as much. But it's still ongoing. They came to some terms, but it wasn't good enough for either side, and so they're still fighting over it. I think the problem is, or what they're getting concerned about, the voice actor, is that they feel that the other side is not really negotiating in fairness because they're in control of the AI, and the longer you wait, the more the AI could technically put them all out of business, and then you don't have to worry about the strike anymore. I know it sounds cruel, and it is cruel, but I can guarantee you some, not all, I'm not trying to put them all in the same box, but I can guarantee you some of these big-time developers are definitely thinking that way. Why would you delay when you could basically just, because you just got off the negotiations with the motion pictures and the TV, you saw how detrimental that was. You basically have been through the ringer. You know how to handle it. You know what could be done. You know how to make a compromise, but they're not doing it. They're just taking their time. And I think that's terrible because there's got to be some line drawn. Look, it's quite possible that in the future, regardless of the fact that they get a new contract with the voice actors, that in the coming decade, it's like she says, AI is coming for us. I think eventually you're going to see less and less voice actors, and more and more AI take over as it gets better. But it's still going to take a while. So for the next 5-10 years at least, you need to have your good voice actors. They make and break a game. I mean, if you have somebody, just like in a movie, if you have somebody doing a bad acting job, the whole movie, even if the story was fantastic, the whole thing goes out the window because nobody makes it believable. So the voice actors are the ones that make it believable. And before you think people get paid a lot of money, this was interesting. They said one of the first game franchises that Jennifer Hale worked on was Metal Gear. She voiced the female lead, Naomi Hunter, if you didn't know.
Oh, yeah. I used to love Metal Gear, man. Still do.
So she said she was paid scale for 2 sessions, totaling $1,200, $1,200, while the game went on to gross $176 million.
What does paying scale mean? I don't know what that means.
Scale means it's the cheapest you can get away with.
Oh,
basically.
It's okay. I don't know enough about this to comment too much.
But you can.
But I will anyway. Of course I will. When the actors and whatnot went on strike recently, and more so, it was the writers that we kind of felt sorry for, and the other little poor minions in the industry that got shafted. I was feeling more sorry for the little guy there, but there wasn't any strikes in the UK because it's a different system. So like things like, I was going to say Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon and stuff weren't affected because they're filmed within the UK and Europe, so it wasn't affected. But it seems to me, and I'll be careful how I word this, because I don't want to offend a whole bloody country. It seems to be where they can get away with it in the States. And I'm not just talking about in this industry, I think across the board. They will try and get away with paying as little as they possibly can. Whereas, for example, my job at the moment, without getting into much detail, it was a year and a bit ago where we get an annual pay review to see what we get. And normally you get a few percent here and there, but like last year they went, here's 7%. I was like, what? How have I got that? And they went, we actually keep our eye on the market to see what the competitive rate is to make sure we're actually paying you something decent. And I went, thank you. Didn't need to do that. But it seems like these guys in the States, these voice actors who are not the most important aspect in a game, but they're important, are getting shafted and paid minimum money. Yeah. Why?
I don't. Here's the
it's
thing.
Greed, mate. It's greed. Bring the asteroid down. It's just greed. Mankind is greedy. That's all it is.
Exactly, and it crosses all barriers around the world. It's not just UK, US. I do know just from firsthand experience that because my son works in not this industry, but similar to what you were just saying, where his raises that he gets are based on what everybody else in the industry is getting. And the reason why they do that is not just because they're trying to be fair, by the way. They're doing it because if they don't, they're going to lose you to another company that competes with them. Yep. No doubt about it. Now, they don't have that kind of thing going on in the video games industry. It's a lot more niche and small, and it's unfortunate that they get crapped on, because of this. And even more unfortunate that if AI wasn't around and AI wasn't getting better exponentially in gaming, this I could be wrong, but I feel that this whole thing would have been solved and they would have had a new contract. Period. And the more this goes on, the more it starts to reflect worse on the certain developers, et cetera, of games, because you can start telling that they're actually waiting on purpose. It's not even funny anymore. It's getting to the point where, yes, it's just you can't deny it. It's happening. And not that I'm saying that they're going to get paid like motion picture stars, but look. Voice acting and acting in general they always tell you that when you're in acting, you best have a second job because there could be, no joke, there could be 30, and I'm not making this up, I read something about it. There could be 30,000 acting jobs open to you, but they only need out of all that, or 30,000, I should say actors. I didn't say it right. 30,000 actors, but they may only have 600 roles to fill. So you can
not an actor.
Right, so now you see that if there's 30,000 actors and you only have 400 or 500, 600 roles, that's not real good. You better have another job. So forth.
Yeah, true. Or be very good.
And the same thing, even more so with the voice actors in games, because you notice that, like her, she voices various characters. It's not like, many times in TV and motion pictures, they don't just hire an actor and say, "Hey, why don't you play all 5 parts?" It's not going to happen. But literally, these voice actors could play 5 parts if they wanted to, because they're talented in that way, and yet they still get paid dirt. So I don't know, man. It really is weird, and I'm going to report more on this AI and gaming, like I said, as things go on, and we'll kind of try to keep track of some of this stuff. It kind of goes on. I finished off my news, and Trev's got some stuff he wants to talk about. Take it away.
I do. The meaning of life, Gray. No, I'm only joking. I won't do that to you.
42.
The meaning of life, Monty Python, of course. No, I was proposing that we if it's no objections, Gray, we keep the quiz till next week because you know the answers and I'm the only one that can play.
I didn't really think about that. That's true.
I've been chatting for a while, so the punters will have value. The thing is, with this Riverside recording, Gray, maybe you've got a counter. I don't have a timer. Well, that's a design flaw from Riverside. You do.
We're already at an hour. Yep.
Yeah. See, I don't have that. I mean, it's just annoying. But at least you know that's
the things I'm going to have to tell them about that they can improve on. See.
They're not perfect, but they are very good.
Oh, believe me. You know what I think? What it is that we see so much good in it that now we want everything. So it's kind of like, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you think that? Can you do this? And they're like, yeah. Calm down. We'll get there. But that's okay.
Fair enough. The news I had, well, the first bit of news I'm probably going to have to take off the table very quickly because I put this in a couple of days ago, right? Mm-hmm. And the news article was they're going to make another Batman game, which is not always a bad thing, but we see so many of them. I'd like to see other characters. Mm-hmm. And I know it's really hard to make a Superman game. I get that. Yeah. But find a way to do it because it's been way too long. But Batman games seem to work because he's not OP. So this one was, the rumour was they'll make another Batman game. Warner Brothers, of course, will get the rights to make it. They'll probably make it themselves or give it to Rocksteady or something like that. And it'll be set in the Matt Reeves universe, right? And remember what James Gunn said. Movies, animated movies, comics, cartoons, animation, a lot of it is all part of the same universe, right? Mm-hmm. Unless it's, or the characters that play the role in one can take it through all the mediums, right? There is the Elseworld stuff, which we know, which is Matt Reeves, the Batman, and the DCEU stuff that they had before, Superman and Lois. That's all set off the side. That's fine. Black Label, I think they were calling that stuff.
That's a whiskey.
And I thought, it is. It's not the best whiskey going. Like, the Scots don't drink that stuff. It's just the Yanks that drink that, mate.
That's the commercialized garbage. Yeah, I get it.
We keep the good stuff and send you what you think's the good stuff, but we actually have the best stuff. So, and I'm not actually joking about that, genuinely.
No, I know what you're talking
about. Anyway, right. So this Batman game, I thought it's a good idea, but then I quickly open up the article to read it again there, and there's an update on the original story, which reads, DCU master James Gunn. I'm quoting. I'm not calling him a master. I call him a lot more worse things than that.
Yeah. He hasn't been proven
begins with W's and D's and whatnot. That's the GGR podcast rant though. Yeah. James Gunn himself has refuted these claims and a rumor of a Batman game set in a universe created by Matt Reeves. So, basically, what I'm saying is the last 5 minutes you can delete and forget I ever said. That's the long and short of that there, yeah.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because I think the rumor is most likely true that there's a new game coming. Now, obviously...
He's refuted it, though.
Right, but it's not going to take place in Matt Reeves' universe, at least as far as James Gunn is saying.
Probably should.
But I'm sure they're working on something. It actually brings up a good point, though, when you start talking about it. Why wouldn't you want to make a game in some of these universes? It may allow you to do stuff that you couldn't really do before.
It may possibly because what I said before that James Gunn wants the characters to cross across. So if you do the voice for one, you do it in any of the mediums. Mm-hmm. That won't count for Matt Reeves, the Batman, because that is Elseworld stuff, and it just means that they'd be stuck to just that pocket universe, if you like. Maybe that's why if the game, if anything, it should be set on the Batman that he's going to introduce in James Gunn's DC universe, his mainline universe. That would make sense. We won't see that. We'll see that for the first time when they do the Batman, what was it called? Batman and the Brave or something? The one that's got Robin as his son. Brave and the Bold, that's it, based on a comic book, right? Mm-hmm. And the animated movie, which is cracking, by the way. Warner Brothers make amazing animated movies, by the way. And it's going to be set, this thing is going to be Batman and Robin in it. And that's when we'll see the main new Batman. Probably when Matt Reeves has had his run with that Batman, so we're not getting too confused, but that could be a great time to bring out a new Batman game based in that universe, and then whoever voices Batman in the movies would voice it in the game, and that would be the most expensive voice acting role in the history of everything.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? There's a reason, James Gunn, this has not happened before. This is why you get the minions. I'm doing air brackets. These guys that do voice acting are not minions, but they're not the same caliber, nor are they ever paid the same amount as their live action counterparts. So
it kind of makes you wonder. I didn't really read an article on this, but Christopher Judge, right? He played the voice of Kratos.
Teal'c.
Right, and he's been a famous TV actor. Now he had to get paid a little more, I'm sure, for God of War.
Oh yeah,
and he had to do a lot of real acting in that. Even though boy. Even though he was in the costume, so they could basically add the animation to him. But still, he had to go through a lot. So yeah, I wonder he had to get paid more. But the game did really well.
Yeah, he was mocapped. So there's more than just the voice acting. You have to be mocapped as well now, and you look like I've got sweary words and Scottish sweary words that I could use here, but he looked. You look a bit special when you've got dots and a leotard where you can see everything. I mean everything. If you've been eating the amount of cheese wheels that Gray has, you see that as a voice actor in those leotards, and you've got the camera coming above your head because it's got to capture your face, and you get dots everywhere. Man, you just look special.
I tell you, I give credit to the actors that can act with mocap, and even the actors that can act against green screen.
Is that not full acting, Grace? Sorry to interrupt you. That's equivalent of full acting for me. I'm sorry, more or less is there. It's more than the guys that are in the booths because they are actually acting out against something or someone. So give them the pay rise they deserve, man.
Judge did both, though. He had to be in the booth for some parts, and he had to be mocap for others. But regardless, I mean, voice acting doesn't get the credit it should a lot of times, is what I'm saying. Because you have to be more of an actor than you think, because somehow they can't be seeing you. They're just seeing the animated version of whatever you're voicing.
We discussed this with Prodigy, with Bob Picardo.
Right, exactly.
It took a while for him to come out his shelf, and then he got used to it, whereas Kate Mulgrew was pretty excellent from day one because she is a superior actor to Bob Picardo, I think, in my opinion. So,
and I think that was, most people probably didn't notice it, but you and I did, and we noticed that as he got used to it, the voice acting, he got better as Prodigy went on, and that's okay.
Hard.
That's something you learn. But Judge had to do a lot of really. I mean, he did such a great job. He had to do some really heavy emotional acting, and there was a clip I saw of him doing a really emotional part where the character was actually crying, and so Judge was crying, but at the same time he was in a mocap suit with the dots and the lights all over him, and he's crying, and I get it because and the acting comes through when you watch the finished product, but when you see somebody captured in a big old mocap suit and they're crying, you're going like, what's wrong with this guy?
To be fair, right, I love Big Chris Judge, I really do. I loved him in Stargate when he played Teal'c, brilliant. Loved him, favourite character easily. Samantha Carter, she was pretty hot as well, but I mean, I digress. And then going back to the video games for a second, I think for me, while those emotional points were emotional and raw, he suited that role, and I don't mean to demean him, but most of the time the character of Kratos is very hollow. He's very Keanu Reeves. He's built for a one kind of character and role, and that's it. His Kratos was very similar to his Teal'c from Stargate.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to act a lot, but he needs to be very Spock-like, and that can be hard in its own right. Like trying to show no emotion is very difficult. In fact, I'd probably say Ethan Peck's got an even tougher job because at least Teal'c, Kratos, Christopher Judge could smile a bit and make some jokes every now and again, whereas that very rarely ever happened with like your Spocks of the world. So
there's always a debate on whether that's a harder thing or an easier thing, but I tend to think it's just as hard because he, like you said, Kratos is only the type of character that he is. He only has so much emotion, and to be honest, the character of Kratos, as it was written in the two games, was the fact that he didn't show a lot of emotion when maybe he should have to his son. And so then as they started getting to the end of the game, towards the last third of the game, all of a sudden he had to start bringing this emotion out slowly but surely until he actually could.
But not showing that you're actually giving it emotion too much. It's hard. Like your emotionless character trying not to show emotion by showing emotion. It's hard. That
is very hard. Now, as far as I guess levels of actors or whatever, in that same game, I forget which one, whether it was the first one or the second one, you did have some famous TV actors that were in the game. So I can't remember the guy's name that played Odin in the game, but that guy's done many wonderful parts in television.
Game.
And also the girl the woman that played Freya, she was real good. You could just, the way she was acting and her voice and everything she did, if you had to put me up against the wall and tell me who do you think was the best actor in the God of War games, I would say the actress that played Freya. She was really good.
Richard Schiff. I recognize him.
Yes.
He was brilliant. He played such a. Everyone, when you think of Odin's son, you think of Anthony Hopkins' take on him from the Marvel movies, which is one take, and it's good because he's the all-seeing father and he plays the stoic character. But a more accurate representation from folklore, I'm fascinated with. That's why I love Vikings, the TV show. I'm trying not to get too deep into religion here because it's not a podcast for it. I'm an atheist guy. I don't really believe in religion. Christianity for me is a bit boring. But see, if I was to be involved in the Viking gods and all that, oh my, it's a brilliant religion. That's what I'm talking about. Going to Valhalla when you're drunk when you're dead and getting drunk in the afterlife and round a big table with food.
Well, look, the Egyptians believed in all that. I mean, they built all the temples and the pyramids just so the guy could wake up wherever he was going to enjoy himself.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Christianity's bored. I'm sorry. No offense to if you believe in what you believe, I respect that. But I mean, anyway.
My point is that in a pure acting sense, and I'm not trying to degrade the performances at all, because they're all top notch.
Brilliant.
But the actress that played Freya was just top notch. I mean, every time she appeared, the voice actor, the actress, whatever, she just really was able to get that whole emotion.
Danielle Bisutti. I'm sorry for pronouncing that wrong. I probably am.
She was really great. So if I had to nitpick, I thought she was the best of the bunch.
Brilliant. Yeah, because she got really emotional and angry at times, and then she always played a calm character in the game, and then she just could flick it just like that. But really quickly touching back on Richard. Did I say Richard Schiff? Yeah, the guy that played Odin. That's a more realistic take on what the character's like from folklore. And he was more, if you've played that game, or if you've not played the game, should I say, he was more mischievous. Yes. He was more street savvy. He was not the all-seeing father that Anthony Hopkins done. He was very sneaky, but really evil at the same time.
Yes.
And the voice performances in these are brilliant. This is why I loved God of War so much. Yeah. This is why, I'm not a massive Horizon fan. I'm not against it. I've still to properly get into the games. It's fine. I know you are great. This is why I apologize. Don't want to insult his franchise. And that's why I love The Last of Us. That's why I love Days Gone. Because it's like a movie in front of my eyes that I get to play. I'm totally in that world. I love it. I adore it. And Sony are the best at that for me, in my opinion. So
that's the way I look at a good RPG. When I played Horizon, when I played God of War, and a couple other ones, and if you can feel like you're an actor, all of a sudden you're an actor, or you're transported to that time, and you're part of the acting crew that's around you, then you got a good game. There's no doubt about it. And it really gets you get into it. So agree totally.
I'll move on to my next article, which is a much quicker one, you'll be glad to hear. The famous game Black Myth Wukong, which I will play at some point because it does look excellent. I mean, you're a monkey. I'm all about that. Like something.
You're all about being a monkey?
Oh, hell yes. Look at Stray, you were a cat. Everyone slags that game. But wait until you play it if you haven't played it. I loved it. And you done little cat things. You get a trophy for scratching a ball or scratching someone's couch or something, doing cat-like things.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm talking about, right? And you make the noises and the little characteristics that cats do. You're playing a bloody monkey that's kind of more humanoid than monkey.
Which is an actual Chinese fable.
I mean, yes, it is, yes, but I'm calling him a monkey, right? But he is a monkey man, yeah.
Monkey
man. But when he's attacking and fighting and whatnot, he makes a little monkey, and I'm not going to make that noise in case people think I'm being offensive, but he makes a little monkey noise when he goes for a hit, and I think it's brilliant. But anyway, so Black Myth Wukong, that's another game that's got lore behind it that could be fascinating to me.
Sure.
And it's done really well, as we discussed before. It sold millions of copies. And it's not even out on Xbox yet. This is another thing that just came to mind immediately inside my point. The rumours were, and I'm sorry if I touched on this before last week, but the rumours were that it's actually not because of a memory leak that it's been delayed in Xbox, because you have Xbox Series X and S, and often there's more customization and work that has to be done for the S model because it's less powerful. But they were talking about a memory leak, which I was like, 2024, good developers, that shouldn't be a problem. I think it's actually an exclusive deal that Sony have at the moment, and I think that has been pretty much confirmed. It's just that Sony don't tend to announce these things, whereas Microsoft do or don't. Well, I don't think they usually do, but Sony, they do a lot of this, and they have to because they don't have the same clout that Microsoft do.
Sure.
So we'll see it in Xbox eventually, and it'll get even bigger and better. But due to its popularity, or even before it became popular, 2 DLCs are heavily rumoured to be released for it. It's a no-brainer for me, if you ask me.
Of course.
We know little about them. The game's not long out, to be fair. They're talking about these DLCs, which are untitled at the moment, being released after the first year of the game being out, which makes sense to me. It sucks that we find out about it now, but you know, like, why would you cannibalise any of your sales at all? You give it a good year of the game being out, then that's part of the course. Bring out your DLCs after. There'll be 2 decent-sized DLCs, and we don't know when they'll come out, like how often they'll be spread apart. They think they'll announce the first one in summer 2025, probably about August time again to celebrate the game's first anniversary. They'll 100% make sure the Xbox versions are out before they do this. I reckon they'll make sure they're out for several months before they announce it, so they don't cannibalise the Xbox sales. And I'm happy for them because it's a studio that's a Chinese studio. They have made a game that both China's happy with and the rest of the world are happy with and can get behind. I'm talking about lip syncing, understanding the language and the lore and the mythology behind it, while not being under the arm of Microsoft or Sony. I guess they are a little bit with Sony because Sony are paying them extra money, but you know what I mean. So,
hey, look, there's no doubt that they were able to produce the game cheaper than most companies, not just because of
they were. That was confirmed. I don't know the price, Gray. They were. It was a lot cheaper than a lot of other games.
Before people start saying, and it's true that yes, okay, they do pay their labor cheaper in China. But despite that fact, it's still pretty real difficult to get the game in at that price, which they did. And it's also kind of on a side note, it's the same as like in the movie industry when they did the Godzilla -1. They did it on a budget of around $20 million. Who makes a movie for $20 million? That's like pennies. So it can be done. It's just that you got to be creative, you know, or financially creative to be able to work it out. So.
You do.
The other thing that I thought was interesting about what you were talking about in this article and it seems like an obvious no-brainer, is that the rumor is there'll be a sequel. Well, duh. I guess there will be.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, but that'll be probably a while out now, I guess.
It's going to be a long time.
They'll spend the next year or so making the DLCs, or year plus, probably next 2 years making DLCs, and then we'll get onto that. So we won't see for a while, but that's fine. We have DLCs to pass the time. I was Googling something while Gray was talking there. So the studio's called Hero Games. They spent 3 years, just 3 years. There you go, gaming studio world. This is how you do it. You do not need 8 years to make Concord. It's a pile of shit.
Oh, wait,
it's a technical word.
What was it? Skull and Bones. It took, what, 10?
Oh, yeah. Or a Bethesda, which will take forever. It'll still come out janky. They spent 3 years. They invested 60 million yen, which is approximately 10 pence. No, I'm looking. It's approximately $8.5 million.
Wow.
$8.5 million for that over 3 years.
Yeah.
This is how you make a game, people. And I bet you they don't have a huge studio with lots of people. Why does it take years to make a game, hundreds of millions?
Right. I mean, even if you wanted to extrapolate a little bit and try to put the amount double, let's say double that because of labor things or whatever. Even at double that, it's still really cheap to make it to create the game. I mean, that's insane compared to the prices we hear about some games, not indies or anything, but the bigger AAA game. You hear prices of $50 million, $100 million, $150 million, and they do all this on 8.
It can cost 200 million. The Sony games cost 200 million to make, the games I mentioned before, but they're kind of worth it because of the amount of money they make back.
Yeah, understood. But that in the gaming industry, that's a rarity. There's only so many franchises that can pull that off. Like true. COD, like Assassin's Creed, like a couple others. That's it. I mean, so to see a game come out of nowhere, so to speak, for that kind of price, or even when we start, and we've talked about this before, when you go to games like Enshrouded and stuff, when you're getting way more for your bang for your buck that we used to get years ago, but we don't anymore. And all of a sudden you see games like Black Myth, Wukong, and Enshrouded and a couple other ones all of a sudden come out with a game that's like, oh, you mean we're not going to have as many problems as we've had before? Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It is. And good luck. Respect for these guys. I love the fact that we're seeing a studio that isn't a Western studio, or I was going to say an American studio because that's where most of them are, but it's a refreshing to see and what's actually possible. But because we don't have a Matt would normally jump in with his kind of game or news or whatever a bit now, but I'll just move on. I'll get some hardware news, which I keep separately. We're all interested in the hardware, but I think out the three of us that are still on the podcast now, I probably enjoy it, or I geek out about it more than the other guys. They're still involved. They still like it. But I like to think I've got more of a understanding of what's going on here, so I'll follow it. And all hardware I get across consoles and PCs. More PS5 Pro stuff because, like I was discussing last week, the leaked images of what it looks like, and it looks pretty good. Very similar to the original. It looks pretty good. We're talking about kind of its performance, and it's going to be a massive jump over the PS5 in terms of what it can do graphically. Because the thing is, with their CPU, as I was saying before last time, Gray, the CPU will stay the same for the most part because CPU games are coded for CPUs, right? So you can't make the CPU too much because then it'll affect the PS5 versions of the games, right? So they tend to not touch the CPU. It'll have a 10% boost clock on it with sacrificing 1% of your GPU. Right. I'll take that. I'll take 1% of the loss to get 10% on the CPU. Sure. But what they do is they upgrade the graphics quite a bit, and they use AMD as does Xbox. I wish they would use they'd all make up and use Nvidia again, man. Because can you imagine my console Nvidia? And amazing. Anyway, before I get too excited, so
AMD is not a slouch, not for this.
No, they're not a slouch, but I mean, come on, the high end graphics are still. They're still Nvidia. We know that. Like in terms of the cards. PS5 Pro's performance will be closely matched to the AMD's 7700 XT in rasterization. As we touched before, for those that don't know, rasterization is the measurement of standard graphical performance before you talk about ray tracing and whatnot. And that's what I'm most interested in, sheer horsepower. I like DLSS, I do, but I want to know how much... It's like horsepower in your car. Right. I don't drive. I can't drive. So equivalent of horsepower for me is what I've got sitting under my hood of my PC case. Yep. And I'm packing some decent punch there, so it's great. And a 7700 XT graphics card was a really good card. It wasn't the highest, but it was up there. It was pretty good. So it will be close to that, but it will be faster in ray tracing than the equivalent card. Now,
are we talking they've got FPS all the time now?
Well, that's the unofficial thing that they'll never admit to and confirm because it's suicide to do so. That we're now talking about that console should be a 4K 60 minimum standard, and I think it really should be. And even if games are not developed or get the patch for, because it'll have a badge, PS5 Pro compatible, just like the PS4 stuff was, PS4 Pro compatible. You had to do so many things as a developer or a studio to get that badge. They'll release patches for a number of games. Sony will release first-party patches by default, but even if no one releases a patch, there'll be a boost mode, which is available in current-gen consoles, especially the Xbox One, which will brute force games up to a higher standard without breaking the game. So that's a good thing. It will have its own equivalent of AMD's FSR. It's now. Oh God, I always get this mixed up.
Wait, are we talking frame gen and consoles?
It's Sony's own bespoke version of DLSS or frame gen or FSR, whatever you want to call it. Their super sampling method, basically, and it's like PSVR or no, not PSVR. That's the VR headset. I can't remember what it's bloody called. It's got its own terminology, basically, and early rumours are that it's very, very good. It might even be AMD's version of it. It won't be NVIDIA's version of it. No one expects it to, but it might very well be the second best version. And if that's just available on consoles, that's impressive. Because it's lacking in consoles at the moment, Gray. See, frame gen, it's possible, but you turn it on and you just watch your graphics go backwards. Negative frames.
You know, the more and more you talk about this, the more I'm thinking, I don't know if the creators of this are thinking about it too, but remember lossless scaling. So lossless scaling is a software that doesn't tax your system, yet it doubles, triples, and now quadruples your frame rate. If they could figure out a way to get lossless scaling into the console, that could be real interesting.
Yeah, it really could be.
I mean, that could be, no pun intended, a game changer maybe for console. They gotta be thinking about it, right? I mean, can't you see now? We're reporting on it now, and then tomorrow you're going to find Sony buys the creators of lossless scaling for $1.3 billion.
It's something that never rule it out. Basically, never rule it out. There's going to be an event this month at some point, which normally it's a showcase when they bring out new hardware, but I don't think it'll be. The rumors are it won't be a showcase. It'll actually just be a state of play where they'll maybe just tack it on at the end, one last thing, and talk about it. Because the rumours are that it'll be released in November ahead of the holidays. And that's the perfect time to do it because we know the new Switch, the Switch 2, whatever it's going to be called, will be announced in this current financial year. Doesn't mean it'll come out, so it could be announced up to the end of March and not released for a couple of months after that. Those two don't want to step in each other's toes. So we will see the PS5 Pro first. I will buy it because that's what I've been looking for that extra oomph. That is what I want. Gray and Matt won't see me as often, but they'll still see me. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that. The other bit of hardware news that I had was an interesting article that I just actually saw today, to be fair, and I had to tack it on. Now, Xbox are not doing a mid-gen recycle, right? Which they done with the last gen, but not this one. They are working on their new gen, their next gen console, which they say will blow everything out of the water. And I kind of believe it because the heavy rumours out there are they're going to be heavily using machine learning. Oh, yeah. That's what does your FSR and your DLSS and whatnot. They're going to rely on that heavily. I wouldn't be surprised if cloud computing was in there as well, all added in. That will blow things out the water. I don't know. I'd imagine PS6 will probably do the same. But this makes sense why Xbox are holding off. And bear in mind, Xbox I don't know if this will be part of their new gen or it'll come out before, but they are heavily rumoured to be working on a handheld control, not a handheld controller, a handheld console, which I think would be a good thing because they've never done one yet, and I'd like to see something equivalent to a Nintendo Switch, where you have a portable handheld that you could take about you, which 1080p at the most, and it's good battery life. But when you plug it into the dock, it turns into a full-blown console. The problem with Switch at the moment is it can barely get any higher when it's in the dock because the dock doesn't have any more power in it. Right. All the dock does is turn the screen off, Gray, so that it's not working hard in that respect. It's got a bit more power supply going through the unit. That's all it's really got, so it doesn't need to work as hard. I think the new Switch might do this as well, where dock will have something inside it to give it a bit more oomph. I'd like to see a dock with a graphics card in it or some kind of boosting mechanism.
I was just going to say something about that to you.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? They're supposed to work worlds.
Is there anything, or maybe we'll never see this?
Not yet.
But I'm wondering whether there's something like that you could even hook into the Xbox or the PS5.
No, not at the moment. It's the closest you get is eGPUs, external GPUs, where you plug them into. You'll use like a special, like a Thunderbolt 4 cable, or there's I can't remember the name of it. There's a special. Asus use it for, they've got their bespoke system which connects into their eGPUs. They're really expensive though, and that gives it an oomph. The problem is, Gray, is the bandwidth between the eGPU and the machine has to be really high, or you start losing performance. And there's only there's very little connections that can handle that. So I think this will happen with Xbox and their new system. You take it on the go, it's portable. You plug it in, you've got a beast of a machine. Or they could release it earlier and blow everything out the water. I think the Switch 2 will do this as well. That'd be great. And I'd love to see PlayStation come back to the market with a portable console as well. I never had the Vita or the PSP, but they were brilliant. I mean, I see them every time I pass by the... we got a shop in the UK called CEX. Right. Not SEX, CEX, but it is pronounced X. And it's second-hand gadgets and games and audio and stuff and all that. They advertise themselves on the TV. They just went with it recently. They're like, come to the best place for blah, blah, blah. Come to sex. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. What is that, Mummy? What is that? I'm not telling you, son.
As a side note, there's a company down here that does air conditioning, because it's big here in Florida. And so the air conditioning, the central air conditioning, there's a big billboard, and on it says, "Your wife is hot," and then it has a picture of a girl. And whoever thought of that campaign was so good, because that's not what you think of when you first see the sign. You go, "Your wife is hot," and I'm going like, "Oh," and then they're going like, "You better get her an air conditioner." Like, oh, jeez.
I thought it was going to be something like, "Have you ever fancied being blown? Well, get a new AC unit. This has got such and such factor on it, and it could kill you down in a second with max factor of blow or whatever, you know." That's amusing. I like that's smart. That's smart marketing, that one there. So yeah, I would love to see. It'll be an exciting time for console people there. Again, I'll stand by what I said. PC is still my first love, but it's not my only love. I'm that guy that wants the three wives in his life, not just the one.
Is that something to do with the sex company?
No, that's they're CEX. Take your mind out the gutter.
That's right, man.
They have PSPs and Vitas and all that I see a lot, and I'm tempted to buy them. I'm like, but no.
I got a side question for you. I've noticed over the last, probably especially the last 2 years or whatever, that they seem to be pushing more and more of the games we play on PC or whatever, or console, into the Nintendo. Is it because there's that big of an audience that wants to play it on Nintendo's unit? I mean,
yeah. It's a very interesting point and question. I'm glad you brought it up, Gray, because COD has not been on the Switch. It's been on Nintendo platforms before, but it's not been the Switch, because the Switch, I mean, this is a Trevism caught up here, don't take it personally, guys. My dead grandmother's got more horsepower than a Nintendo Switch, so it generally can't run a lot. It really can't run a lot, but it's not a powerful machine. This is a SoC that's a chip that was designed in probably 2015 and was used in Nintendo Switch in 2017. It's an old chip, and the chip that they've got out in the Switch 2 is not the most up-to-date chip. The Nintendo purposely asked for a cheaper chip because they don't need the high-end graphics. Right? Yeah, but it's the new chip. That's what I meant, the new chip. That's what I'm talking about. The new chip for the Switch 2 isn't the latest state-of-the-art chip that NVIDIA have got. They've got better. But Nintendo didn't ask for the highest one. They just asked for a model or two up with some current-gen things like DLSS. That's the handy thing with going NVIDIA. That will be on the Switch 2. They'll bring aspects of that the 4000 series card into that, which is pretty cool. But it never had enough power, Gray. Yeah. And now you're seeing Now you're seeing more people bringing it out, and there's a couple of reasons I think for that. One of them is Nintendo has a massive fan base, very loyal, and they want to try and bring games out for it. You have specialized studios that can get every single, they literally get a Nintendo Switch and wring dry, like squeeze dry every bit of performance out of this thing. I remember seeing the first version of Ark that came out in the Switch was a bomb scare, and I mean it's a bomb scare on current consoles, but when it came out in the Switch, it was like plain and soup. Yeah. Literally graphical soup. It was horrible. But then they ported it out to another company that specialised in ports, and they came back. And do you want to know something? It still didn't look amazing, but oh my god, it looked way better. And I was like, wow, look at what people can do with modern tools and custom and being competent developers, good developers. It's possible. So they want a piece of that pie. They know Switch 2's coming out. So certain games will not be announced or delayed because they want them to go out and Switch 2, or they'll bring out a patch which will boost it up. Right. So you'll see more and more of this happening, Greg, because they know there's a market and an audience for it, I think.
So in order for this to happen, though, doesn't Nintendo have to agree to having these other games on their system?
No. It's the same as Sony or Microsoft. You file to the platform holder in question, and you, as long as you tick all the right boxes and you do the right things, you'll get your game approved by that platform. Nintendo are no different. They might be a bit stricter because they've got a bigger family audience, but as long as you... I say that, if you've ever tried to go through the Nintendo eStore, oh my god. First of all, it's a web-based browser shop. Right. It's slower than a week in jail. And I swear to God, it's a horrible experience. There's the worst store in terms of technical aspects and quality of games is Nintendo eStore. You can spend ages. There's thousands of games on that, Greg. Some of them are bargain basement. Some of them look like they've been designed by a 5-year-old. Some of them are bordering on inappropriate. There was hentai. There was hentai in that. And for those that don't know what it is, I'm not telling you. Google it or ask your parents. Ask your parents.
That's crazy.
But how does that get past Nintendo's filters? But it does. So
that's what I was wondering. Because Nintendo's goes bananas over things like this, and they're close to the vest on everything. So I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, they must be making something on this.
Doesn't make any sense, Greg, really, does it? Because they would, like if you do anything wrong to besmirch the trademark of Nintendo, they will sue you out of existence, literally. Yeah. But yeah, so I know we're getting a bit of a console kind of conversation then, but we cater for everyone. I still play console as well as my PC, and I still enjoy it. So yes, and I think you've got time for your mod corner, Greg, don't you?
Yep, we're gonna go into the mod corner again. I was checking some stuff out, and I ended up seeing a mod for Mass Effect, which I don't always see that much. So apparently the people out there that are great at mods have come out with the mod to go into Mass Effect 3. And apparently it's not just a mod to make it look better. It's a total free expansion. And apparently the fans, because there's a lot of rabid fans, including me, of Mass Effect, said that it's something that they all agree you should get. So apparently, from what I understand, it's a free download. It brings a whole new expansion's worth of content to Mass Effect 3. It's called Expanded Galaxy. Again, it's free, and it's over on Nexus Mods. They first released it back in 2021, but they've been updating it very regularly. And now they've gotten to the point where what you couldn't do in Mass Effect games then, because they're older, was that you never could really do much with the Normandy. But apparently now you can totally overhaul the Normandy. It has a war asset system. It has new weapons. You can change it. It'll basically work for you. You can customize it. You can do your romancing on it if you want.
All right, okay.
You couldn't before. You can have friends come in on the ship and visit you if you want. I mean, all this stuff is going to happen that it wasn't available back then. So I thought that was pretty good. A lot of people that have tried it have said that now that they've tried it, they can never go back to the vanilla games ever again. That's a lot. That's a lot to say when you're a fan of Mass Effects and you're telling me you can't go back to the original once you play the mod or the mod's version. Apparently, there's going to be new weapons, quality of life improvements, etc. So I'm like, cool, because I think that might be something I might mess with just to see, how good it is. But most of the time when I do mods, are mods that do something to the graphics, the UI, other things like that make it quality of life kind of stuff that you like. But for a whole expansion, that's not an easy thing to do, as we've seen with Fallout London, etc. So to go all the way back to Mass Effect 3, which was out long ago, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. So yeah, so if you want to head over to Nexus Mods, put in Expanded Galaxy on the search. And if anybody does try this, sure, man, get on the Discord or send us a note to let us know what you thought about it. I think that was pretty good. Kind of keeping with the mode of Black Myth Wukong, apparently there's a mod out for that too. And there has been some people that have not been fond of what they call over sharpening in the UE5's virtual shadow maps. So some modders got together and said that they want to try to make this better. Apparently, the non-ray trace shadows in the game, if you don't have a card powerful enough, look kind of bad. So the mod is actually more for people that can't enjoy stuff like this. So they want to be able to have them enjoy it to its fullest, even if they don't have a card powerful enough to do the ray tracing. So this mod will now improve all that, and it'll make the shadows look much better, even without ray tracing, which is really interesting if you think about it. We keep talking about ray tracing, but now they have a mod that just doesn't even bother with ray tracing and still makes it look better anyway.
Good.
Exactly. So I'm going like, okay. The over sharpening, I didn't really know about this, but apparently the over sharpening has something to do with the chromatic aberration, and this ends up removing some things from it to give it the proper aspect ratios and etc., and not making it look, I guess, a little fakeish when you're over sharpening. It's almost kind of like when you're in a game, if you end up turning up, they do have some things that have sharpening, and you can turn it all the way up. And when you turn it all the way up, it looks really edgy, and the artifacts start popping out and it doesn't look right. So apparently that's kind of what some of the people were seeing. And so this mod will now soften it out so that you don't see this stuff and still retain the quality of the game. So if you're into this kind of stuff, and there's obviously a lot of modders out there that are, again, check it out on Nexus Mods or just Google it and you're bound to find it. And this may be just perfect for people that have like mid-tier systems and don't have 4000 series cards, like we do. So I'm glad to see that stuff like this comes out because, people can't always afford the 4000 series or whatever, and that's fine. But they shouldn't be left to suffer. So basically the modders, jump in and help. And I think that's one of the greatest things about modding, not just making something that makes things look better, which is great, not just something that makes an expansion like we just talked about, which is also great, but this is something that particularly helps the people that have mid-tier systems, but they want to at least be able to enjoy some of the stuff that we do with the 4000 series cards. So I kind of commend some of these modders to do stuff like that, and it's all free. It's all free. No one gets paid.
As I said before about mods, like for me, I prefer vanilla, but mods have got their place. I think for me, the place is if a vanilla game comes out and it's really good off the bat, like you generally don't see any problems with it in terms of technical performance at all. You don't need mods, in my opinion, and I'll stand by that strongly. However, that's not always the case, unfortunately, especially in modern days. So more often you need these mods to fix things. And Gray's point, I think he's touched on before as well, is some things will improve the games regardless and do different things. And I respect that as well. It's just that element's not for me,
Yeah, I get it. I mean, with me, I like it only because sometimes I like to tinker. Like, for instance, your point, Horizon Forbidden West doesn't really need anything. The vanilla, so to speak, version is fine, especially if you're using a 4000 card. But one of the things that I was, just because I'm interested in that stuff, that's why I do the Mod Corner, I started looking through to see, what do they have? Now, except for the NSFW stuff that modders do, that we're not going to talk about right now. They had other things, and one of the things that I thought was kind of cool is it says, "Did you ever notice this slightly yellowish orange tinge in the game Horizon Forbidden West?" And I'm sitting there thinking to myself,
I call it the Donald Trump effect.
yeah, there you go. So I didn't really think about this until I started playing the game. I'm going like, yeah, okay, but whatever. It didn't bother me. So this particular mod takes that away and then just basically makes things more natural, I guess would be the word. And I didn't think I was going to like it, but I decided to put it in just to see what happened. And I was like, whoa. And I was like very impressed. Everything did look more natural because it's kind of like when you play around, and again, nothing wrong. I'm just tweaking and playing around. But in Horizon Forbidden West, obviously the main character, Aloy, is a redhead. So in the game,
Ginger.
She's a redhead. I mean, her hair is red.
No, it is properly red, not just ginger, because people say that a lot, don't they?
Right,
like redhead, they mean ginger,
really
but that is proper red.
Right.
It is.
But if you had to be a stickler and you're looking and you want to be a little nitpicky, you look at her hair and you're like, man, no one has hair that red unless you're sticking dye in it, or something. So this one makes it look like a natural redhead, and it looks really good. It's got the different gradations of red in the hair, like a lot of redheaded people do have. So I was looking at it going like, wow, that's pretty cool. I never noticed any of this stuff before until I put the mod in. And now it's kind of like I can't go back now. It doesn't look right. So I just...
Why are redheads called redheads when they've got ginger hair and not red hair?
Who knows?
I don't understand that.
I don't know. Where did blonde come from? It's yellow hair.
I think it's... Is it yellow hair, though?
Well, I mean,
Is it?
And then there's all variations. When they say blonde, they go like, here. And then you see the bleach blonde, and then the regular blonde, and then
I think they say red because some people will get offended when called ginger. I don't know why, because it's a very big thing in
maybe because ginger's
Scotland
the name of a girl, see, so you can't go around calling people red.
What girl was called Ginger, Gray?
What are you talking about? Ginger Rogers, famous movie star of the past. Ginger.
I've never heard an animal called Ginger in my life.
Oh crap! What was that show? Gilligan's Island, which is a funny show from years ago. There's a ginger on that one. Sure, gingers have been around.
Do you know also ginger is? What you would call soda.
Oh,
soda pop.
Ginger ale over here.
No. So we in the UK we'd say, get me a can of juice. We don't mean juice as in apple juice. It's soda. We don't call it soda.
Right.
We just a can of juice, right? But in Scotland we'll say, especially maybe the west of Scotland. There you go. There's a bit of an insight to rice. Mm-hmm. You'll say, get me a bottle of ginger or a can of ginger, and you don't mean ginger ale. You mean soda. It's what you know. It's what you know.
Yeah.
You tune in for these little nuggets of information.
Right. You only hear this here, nowhere else.
Anyway, that's my right. If people want to give me their opinion on the whole ray tracing thing, like if you join the Discord in all seriousness, because we have a computer, what do we call it, Gray? Computers and Tech, right? One of our chat rooms. And it is literally what it sounds like. It's all computers and technology and stuff that's out there. And that involves things like DLSS, ray tracing and all that. I can get geeky about that. And I'd love to talk to you about that. If you like it, you don't like it, come and join us and we'll get into that conversation.
We're always combing the sources to find interesting stuff and articles, and we'll post in there so that everybody can talk about it, whether they like it or they don't. And we do that all the time in the Discord. So yeah, pick up on the Discord, discord.gg/Extreme Gaming Podcast. So I think with that, we've kind of come to the end, and we've done a good over an hour and 45 minutes. So it turned out
that's good,
pretty good.
We find out from our colleague Matt what happened. His internet went down. BT.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't be on. And and also we were not going to do the gaming quiz because, like Trev pointed out, he's the only guy that's going to guess the answers. So
I know the first answer, but I never Googled it. I know the first answer.
So
if I'm going to tell you the first answer, so you change that question.
Okay.
Duck hunt.
I didn't even ask. Nobody knows the question yet. The question was, which game on the original NES used the zapper gun? And of course, the answer is Duck Hunt.
Yeah, because I've got it. so good.
I remember playing. That's one of the few Nintendo games I remember playing when I was younger, and it was like we used to always screw around and take the zapper gun and stick it right up against the television and go click.
Oh, do you know how it's fascinating how that actually works, and that's why it doesn't work in modern TVs. It's amazing. That shop I told you about, CEX, right?
Yeah.
That has all the gaming stuff secondhand.
Yep.
I went in there and I was buying something, and I looked up in their shelves behind the counter, and no shit, there's a rocket launcher up there. I was like, well, what? I was like, whoa, what is that, man? What the hell is that? And they said, I can't remember its name, but it's, in fact, I'll tell you, it was the Super Nintendo
Rocket launcher.
Rocket launcher.
What game was that used in?
It was called the Super Scope, right?
Okay, cool.
The Super Scope. In fact, wait a minute. No one can see this, I don't think. I can share my screen. Then I'm going to share my screen. Hang on.
Yeah.
See, we're testing this out for science here, right?
Oh, no, keep track of that, because what I'll do is I'll edit in the video.
Screen, and I want to share the entire screen, and I want to do that one.
It's probably easier if I edit it in later.
Let's not share the inappropriate material. Let's show this here. Right, this is for Grace's benefit. So. I know you won't be able to see this, guys, this time.
You know what that looks like? It looks like the old phaser rifle from Star Trek original series.
It does. It really does, man. And then you're clicking on the wrong bloody screen. So it was used for, I think there was only 2 or 3 games that ever done it. One of them is Super Scope 6.
Wait, put your mouth back next to the mic. There you go.
It's Super Scope 6.
Yeah.
There's only a few games that ever done it. I mean...
It's crazy.
That just looks phenomenal, guys. I'm sorry.
$59.89. That's not bad.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, CX will shaft you and charge you more than you should pay.
When did this thing come out?
Oh God! Now you're talking about release date.
That old? I thought it was newer. Then.
Oh no, 1992.
Oh.
For PAL region for Europe. Oh no, wait a minute. Yeah, 1992. So it came out, but it's a SNES. It's a SNES thing. It's a SNES. So, anyway. But yeah, so there you have it.
Cool.
Randomness for you.
I love it. So anyway, enjoy. It's been a fun time, as usual. Enjoy. Tune into us next week for more fun and games, literally. And we'll be talking about other stuff coming up and whatever's happening at that time. So again, Extreme Gaming Podcast on pretty much every once a week. We rarely ever miss. Check all the podcast services, especially Spotify and some others. And we will see you again next week.
And our gaming pod on Wednesdays.
Our gaming pod on Wednesdays.
Which is not, that'll be next week.
Right? Yeah, Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And sometimes we
on
do
Twitch
stuff
well.
in between, but you can find out about that by joining.
Yeah, you might get the odd ad hoc stream outside that. We're committed to doing 2 broadcasts a week, 2 recordings, the main one on Thursday, the podcast, and Wednesday's the gaming one on Twitch and YouTube. We'll probably do it across all the streaming platforms, all the socials.
Yep.
And then, like, I done COD on Saturday night on Twitch, so...
Yeah, the plan eventually is we're going to end up live broadcasting on Twitch, TikTok, right? YouTube, and what am I leaving out? Twitter. Facebook.
And X as well, so we'll get 5 platforms. 4 or
5 all at one time. So yeah, a lot of things coming down the pike, as they say. Not Captain Pike, but close enough. Little Star Trek humor there. All right, so we are going to say bye-bye, and I will talk to y'all later. Cheers.
Bye.
I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to start a flame in your heart.